Okay, so during the break, there's actually a really good question, which was, after we merge changes back from another branch, is the branch still there? So the answer to that is yes. Like, when all that merging does is it just takes the changes and brings them back into a different branch. So the other branch is still there, and what you can actually do is you can always switch back to it and keep working in it to add stuff, and then you can just merge changes back again and again whenever you want. So what you normally do is you create a different branch for a feature, then you work on it a little, and let's say it's in a state where you think, okay, I want to try using this with the rest of my project. So then you merge it back into the master branch. So then you can always just go back to that branch, keep working, and then as that feature gets more and more developed, you can just keep merging changes back whenever you want. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. This bit here is a little bit tricky because we're combining a few concepts that we saw earlier together. So if you remember our merge conflict before the break, we actually had something which looks like this there at the top. So we're going to look at exactly what this hid thing is now and how checkout actually works. So here's a sample repo. It's not the one that we actually have, like this is just an illustration. So you can see we have 3 branches with some comments on each. We have 2 on development, we have 3 on experimental, and we have a bunch on master. So again, this is just a demo repo. It doesn't represent the one that you actually have now. We're just using this to illustrate a point. So do you remember, if we were on the master branch, how would we switch to the development branch? Do you still remember that? Like we type in git checkout development, and then now we're on the development branch. So yeah, so we know that checkout moves us between branches. So let's look at exactly how that works. So Git has this thing which is called head, the same thing you just saw on the previous slide, which is like a label that points to the branch that we're at. Just like each of these branches has a label. So if we're on the master branch, then head will just point to master like this. So you can see we have this little head pointer pointing to master. So this is where we're at right now, right? So if we do git checkout development, what that does is it takes the head pointer and moves it to development, like that. So does everyone get this so far? So all that we're doing when we do checkout is we take the head pointer and we place it somewhere else. So all checkout does really is it just moves this head thing around. And when you move this around, Git will actually just replace whatever's in your working directory with whatever it's pointing to. So that's how you can actually see what things are like on a different branch, right? Anyone have issues with this? Any questions? No one? Okay. So if all moving hit does, if all moving checkout does is move head around, here's something cool we can do with it. If everyone looks at your one-line log, you do git log -- one line. Can everyone do that right now? Just pull up your log. So you remember how each comment has a bunch of numbers and letters, which is like an ID, right? So that looks something like this, right? Each comment has some numbers and letters, which just identifies it. And again, these aren't real IDs, just to illustrate. So we can actually use checkout to move between comments. So we can actually jump through time within our project. So for example, if we do git checkout to C3, what that does is it takes head from development and it sticks it at that comment there, like this. So what Git does is it takes all the stuff takes all the stuff from that comment and it puts it back in your working directory. So now you can actually see what that comment is like. So we're effectively jumping through time within our project. And since we can do that, we can actually just see what our stuff was like at any point. So let's take a look at that. Where's my mouse? Here it is. So yeah, I pulled up my log here. So you can see, yeah, we have a bunch of letters and numbers, which is the ID. So Let's just pick a random one from the past. So I'm just going to pick this comment here, add notes on branches. And what I'll do is type git checkout, just like we were going to switch to a branch, except this time I'm just going to type this comment here. Like that. And you'll notice you don't actually have to type the full sequence. In most cases, Git's actually smart enough to figure out what you mean. So in this case, I left off the A, and yeah, it still works. So you notice there's a bunch of text that just showed up. If we do git log again, you can see that the log looks just the way it was at that point in time. Like we have nothing after this comment. And if we switch back to our text file, all the stuff that we added later on is gone. So this is our text file at this point in time. So that's actually pretty neat. Like we can just go back and see what our code is like. So if we change something and we want to remember what we did in the past, we can just go back to that point and actually look at it. So how do we go back to where we were? Like, we still have, to do that, we just basically, oops, we do checkout again, except now we want to go back to master, right? We want to be back to where we were. And now we're there again. So if we do log, everything's back. If we go back to our text file, yeah, everything is here. So let's add some stuff to the checkout section. So yeah, we just added a bunch of stuff here. So does everyone have this? Don't forget to save comment when you're done. Any questions also about what we just did? Any like clarifications or anything? Everyone's okay? Okay, the question is whether we can move master back to that point, right? Like we want to basically just go back to that comment and say this is where master starts now. Is that correct? Okay, we'll actually be seeing that later on in actually. Alternatively, what you can do is, because yeah, that will basically just drop everything after that point. Alternatively, what you can do, in fact, let's just see that real quickly now. If I go back to the comment we were at just now, you'll notice that Git actually says you can create a new branch from this point. So like if let's say, yeah, you want to go back to that point and start working from there, but if you're not sure you want to get rid of all your stuff in master so far, you can actually just create a new branch from this point and split off. So command for that is just right there. So you can actually, yeah, just do git checkout -b and a name for the branch. So in this case, I'll just call it older as a demonstration. And what that does is it basically sticks a branch label at this point.
So the branch order will contain the stuff that you cut from the point onwards. Is this one?
Sorry?
It's an empty branch or it's
Okay, so I just created this branch, right? Like if I do the log, it's all the old stuff that we have. So basically it goes, sorry? Yeah. So basically what you've done is you've went back to that point and then you've branched off from there. Yes, and that's the new branch. So you still have master with all your stuff, like you haven't erased any of that.
Does that work? So when you jump back here, right, and basically like you're just drifting around.
Yeah, it's kind of like this.
So when you jump back here, basically you're just floating here. So you can see like everything that's old in this particular commit. But if you want to continue from there, then you can create a new branch and suddenly it becomes like this.
So yeah, that's what checkout-b does at this point. But yeah, we'll actually be taking a look at how if you wanted to just say, this is master, I don't want any of the newer stuff. We'll be taking a look at that really soon. Yeah, as a quick aside actually, while we're looking at the log, hang on, let me get back on master. Oh, yeah. So you remember how I briefly mentioned that you don't actually have to type the full thing, the full commit ID in, right? And in fact, this actually isn't the full commit ID. Like when you do git log one line, it actually displays a really short version of this, which is the full commit ID. So yeah, obviously like it's not very convenient to have to type this whole thing in. So you can generally just type the first, say, 5 or 6 characters and Git's smart enough to figure out the rest. Because commits usually don't start with the same ones. And if they did, Git will tell you like, this is ambiguous and I need you to just type a little bit more. So that's just something to keep in mind real quickly. Okay, so we just saw how we can basically time travel back with Git. Has everyone committed everything? So your log looks something like this. That we just added notes on comments, on checking out an older comment. Okay, so next we'll actually take a look at how we can use Git to undo mistakes instead of actually having to go into our code or our stuff and manually do that. So there's 2 different scenarios here. The first is we want to take a specific file from an older commit, like this just one file that we want to take an older version of. The second scenario is we want to undo every single thing that we've done in the commit. So like this entire commit was a mistake and we just want to revert it. So yeah, there's 2 different commands that we use to do that. So let's just type them first. So this is the first one that we just talked about. You notice that it's actually just git checkout again. And this is actually one of the areas where Git gets a little weird because we saw how checkouts used to move between branches, and we just saw how we can use checkout to jump through time to look at an older comment. And now we are using checkout to pull an older version of a file from a comment. So it's kind of like we're doing 3 different things, but we're doing it with the same tool. So that's just one of the weird quirks that we have. So the next one is to undo an entire comment, and to do that, it's just this, git revert and the comment we want to undo. So let's actually save this before we start messing around. So does anyone need a little bit more time, catch up, to finish typing the stuff in? We'll just pause here for a bit. Yeah, also, does anyone have any questions about the stuff we just covered? Anything at all? Okay. So is everyone set right now? We have this new section here, and we've commented it. Also, yeah, so before we actually do this, note the difference between the syntax of these two commands. If we're doing git checkout to take an older version of the file, we actually enter the commit that we want to take the version from. So this is the commit that we want to keep. If we're using git revert to undo a commit, this is the commit we want to get rid of. So there's this kind of subtle difference there. So yeah, so make sure you've commented all this stuff, and now we'll actually start by looking at checkout. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take an older version of the file, of this notes file, in fact, actually. So I'll just take this comment right here, where we just added notes on checkout for the first time. So to take the version of the file from there, you just do git checkout, then the commit ID, which, yeah, again, will be different on your machine. Like that. And then the name of the file. Oops. So you remember, if you want to take an older version of the file, you have to specify the file name. Because if you don't specify the file name, all that this will do is just bring your whole working directory back there to poke around like we just did. So if I do this now, you'll notice that everything here is the way it was in this older comment. Oops. And in fact, Git has actually already staged the changes for us. So if we just wanted to save, if we wanted to pull an older version of the file, we just do that, and then we can just commit it back. So like this. So can everyone do that? Like, you've just checked out an older version, and then you've committed it. Any issues or questions? Oh, yeah, the M is just to, so we don't have to do the editor to do a message, yeah. Yeah. Question or issue? Okay. So everyone's log should look something like this, right? We have all our stuff, and then we've just taken an older version and commented it. You need to actually comment it because the next few bits we'll be looking at, we'll actually be undoing this. So don't worry about losing all the stuff we just did. We'll be getting it back in a short while. Question?
Yeah, I see the unknowing stuff again.
Oh, right. Actually, yeah, let me just give you a sneak peek of what we're doing next. So I'm just going to undo what we just did here. Yeah. Yeah, this. So everyone okay? Oh, okay. Yeah. Wait, so you saved that and then you commented it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, do you know? So what I need you to do now is just check out an older version of your file and then comment that. Like, can you just do that real quick?
Okay, so I will commit to the master, commit this one to the master.
As in, yeah, comment this, then check out an older version using this. Yeah. So just look at your log, pick an older version, then check it out and comment that. Okay, is everyone okay? So your log should look something like this right now, right? We have all our stuff here that we've done, and then we have this last commit where we just took an older version of our file. Everyone have this? So we're fine, right? Okay. So let's look at how we can revert things. So you remember we have the two scenarios: the one where we just did, where we took an older version of the file. Then we have the other one where we want to undo what we did in a particular comment. So this last comment we did is actually kind of useless, right? We don't want the older version of our file, we want our new one with everything in it. So to undo that, we just do git revert, and then we type the comment ID of the one we want to get rid of, which is this last one, where we just took the older version of our file. Like this. And then we hit enter. Git will automatically pop up the editor with a comment message for us. Revert, revert. Then it displays the comment message of the one we're reverting. This reverts, and then the actual comment ID. So all we need to do is just save, and then close out. So if we look at our log again, you notice that it's added this revert comment, but more importantly, all our stuff is now back, because we just undid the comment where we checked out, where we took an older version. So now we're back where we were. So does anyone have any questions? No, Cedric. Yeah, any questions, issues? So all that revert does is it just undoes a comment that we tell it, right? And all it does is it creates a comment that does that. So in fact, we can actually revert a comment which was a revert like this. And this is really useless, but yeah. Then if you look at our log, we reverted a revert. So that's all that revert does. It just takes in a comment that you want to get undo, and then it undoes it. And it creates a new comment for that. Here's the key thing to remember about both the methods that we've done, both checking out an older version and of revert. Like, both of these don't actually destroy anything. Like, all your stuff is still in your log. And because your log always has stuff that you've undone, you can always just go back and undo any mistakes you make while you're trying to fix things. And that's actually really important because this next thing that we're going to do doesn't follow the same rules. So let's take a look at that real quick. You can just leave your repo like this with the older version. It doesn't really matter because we'll be seeing how to fix this in just a minute. So yeah, this is Git reset is the only tool that we're covering today which has the potential to mess things up. This is actually what you brought up earlier about taking an older, like rolling your branch back. So everything else that we've done today will create new things in your commit log, right? And as we just seen, as long as it's in your commit log, you can undo it, or you can go back to an older version before it. But reset is different because what this will do is it actually drops things from your log, which is a really huge deal. So you might ask why we bother with it, right? It seems pretty dangerous. So most of the time we don't actually need it. Once in a while, we might make some comments or comment code which we really don't want to keep around. Like it's absolutely pointless or useless. It's complete garbage, much like what we have right now. So what reset does is it lets us drop everything after the comment that we specify. So yeah, it basically rolls the branch back to the comment that you type in. Please don't type any of this in right now. We'll actually see how it works in a minute. The syntax is up there. So yeah, it is actually possible to recover from a mistake that you make, but we're not covering that today. So please be really careful when you use this. So there are 3 modes that reset can work in. Soft and mixed are the so-called safe modes, but we're not actually going to look at them today because their use is really specific. Hard is the so-called dangerous one, since that one actually does drop all your stuff. And this is the one that we'll actually use. So before we do that, let's just take a little bit of time to see exactly what it does. So you remember our 3 boxes that we have here. So let's say this is our repo right now. Like we have all our changes are committed, right? So everything's the same. In fact, could everyone just run git status really quickly and just check that everything is committed? Like you have no changes that need to be committed. Is everyone okay? Okay. So yeah, everything's the same in all these boxes. So what git reset hard does is it actually does 3 things. First, we have to tell it the comment that we want to roll back to, right? So then what it does is it takes the repository and it rolls the repository back to that comment like this. So it replaces the stuff in there with the older comment. Then the next step, Then the next step is it takes what's in the repository and it moves that into the staging area like that. And then the last step is it moves it into the working directory. And this is why reset is dangerous, because if you've made any changes in your working directory, they're just gone at this point, because it has replaced them with whatever was in that older comment. 2 things to note about this. The first is you can actually think of this as the reverse of our normal workflow. Like normally we make a change, we stage it, and then we commit it. So what reset does is it actually takes an older change, stages it, and then sticks that back in our working directory. So it's really just the opposite of what we normally do. The second thing to note is that any untracked files are untouched. Because what Git does is Git works basically on a file basis. It doesn't track your entire directory, right? So if a file isn't in the repository, Git doesn't have anything to replace it with. So it's still there. So even if you do reset, let's say you add a file, it's untracked, and you reset to an older version, even though that file wasn't there in that older version, that file will still be there after you reset. So does everyone understand that? Or does everyone understand what's going on here, basically? We all good? Okay. So just for your information, here are all the 3 modes compared to each other. Again, we're not actually going to compare, we're not actually going to cover what soft and mixed do. So this is really just so you can get a rough idea of what they are. Any questions again? Okay, so let's actually go and take a look at this. So if everyone could just look at the log right now. So, don't make any notes right now also, because we're about to just completely drop all these changes. So if you make any notes and comment them, it's kind of a waste. So what we want to do is we want to take the comment before the one where we took an older version. So this is the comment here where we check out the older version. Like, you guys remember doing that? So we want to take the comment that we want to keep, which is the one before it, where we just added notes on all stuff. So what we do now is we do git reset. We type in this comment, and again, be really careful when you're picking the comment. Make sure you choose the right one, like so. Then 2 dashes and hard, like that. So then if we run this, you'll see Git tells us head is now at this commit. And if we do a log again, everything after it is gone. And this isn't just like checkout where we're temporarily visiting it. Like this is actually what our thing's like now. And in fact, remember how if we checked out an older version, we could go back by typing the branch we were on, right? If we do that now, you'll notice it says we're already on this branch. So the branch is now actually at this point. We have no real easy way of getting back the stuff that we just dropped. And yeah, this is basically what you mentioned earlier on, where you want to go back to an older point and just drop everything. So yeah, and if you switch back to our file, you notice that, again, we have all our stuff. And now it's safe to go and add our notes in, because we're not going to be dropping things anymore. So let's just write everything about reset down. So yeah, we've just added these to this last section here, and we're commenting it again. And this is what our log should look like at this point. So does everyone have this, or you need a little bit more time? Revert or reset? Reset or revert? Revert. Okay, the question is if you use revert, where does master go to? Okay, revert doesn't actually change the branch you're on. Reset's the only tool that actually messes around with the commit log. Like that one actually changes the branch. If you do revert, all that does is it undoes the stuff. It makes a new commit that undoes whatever it is you're reverting. Okay. Okay. So the difference between that and checkout is that with checkout, as in when you say checkout, do you mean checkout an older version, or do you mean? Okay. So the question is, what's the difference between revert and checking out an older version? So what checking out an older version does is it just takes the older version of the file. What revert does is it undoes the specific changes that were in that comment, and it doesn't have to be the last thing that we did. Like you can actually go and take an older comment and do revert on that, and that will actually just undo those specific changes. If you try that now, it will probably break things because we're just working with a small text file. But if you're working with a bunch of code, like let's say you just add a few statements that in one comment, then you run revert on that particular comment. It will just remove those things. So it's useful instead of just taking an older version, because let's say if we have 10 different changes, and then somewhere in the middle of it we have one change which is wrong, and then the remaining 4 are okay. So if we took an older version, we have to replace the last 5 changes again, the last 4 changes. But if we do revert on that one thing, we still have these changes which are okay. We just got rid of the one that's broken. Does that answer the question? Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Is everyone at this point right now? Okay, great. Do we have time for another break?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we just finished the second last section, so next will be the last section. What we just saw is how to basically travel through time in our repository. We can use checkout to jump back to an older comment, and we also saw how we can undo mistakes using checkout again or revert, and how to use reset to just completely drop changes for good. So yeah, next up we'll be taking a real brief look at how we can use Git to work with others. First we'll take a 10-minute break. Same will apply. If you have any questions, feel free to just ask now. If not, we'll start again at 12:48.